Unlock the secrets of Skinwalker Ranch with insider access. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes content, deep dives into experiments, live chats with the team, and 24/7 live access. Join now for a free 7-day trial.
Hey everyone, welcome to the JFree906 podcast. I'm here with Jim and Seth tonight. How you guys doing?
Doing awesome.
Doing good.
Shannon will be along. Supposedly, she's going to be along here shortly. She had a great event to attend tonight, so she said, "I'll get there as quick as I can." So she is that a good impersonation? No, it was terrible. But anyway, so
it's like she's right here.
Yeah, almost like she's right here, right? So she'll be along here, eventually. So we'll get. She'll join us as we go along. Man, I tell you what, it was so hard doing this particular, getting ready for this particular podcast because we are kind of going through all of season 4 and picking out some of the highlights, and there were so many. And you guys know me and my pictures. You know, I like to have a couple pictures. And
one or two, maybe 3, right?
You know, just a couple, and yeah, I got a lot. Yeah, all right, I'll leave it at that. I got a lot.
I like that you grab the still shots, like as a fan of your show, Jeff, because for me, there are times where I'll watch the show through, I'll watch it again, but very rarely will I pause it and look at a single frame. And your show provides that for me as a viewer. And a co-host, so I enjoy that you have as many pictures as you do, because I'm like, oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, well, sometimes, yeah, and that's one of the fun things, you know, when you go back over an episode as many times as I do, preparing for the podcast, and just because I love the show anyway, you know, you start to see little things that you might have missed in the background or things that were going on, and that's. You know, and sometimes, and I hate when this happens, folks, but sometimes I get one of these things where I'm looking at something and I really want to kind of maybe disagree with the guys on the team a little bit about their analysis of something, only because, you know, I and I don't have the tech, the tech that Eric does, or the brain of Eric or Travis or those guys, quite honestly, the intelligence level. But I see things, and I, like the whole, that UAP that and we'll get to that tonight.
Right.
One that was seen by the helo, the helicopter from the GoPro camera, the one that I thought was sitting still and they said was coming out of the Mesa. I don't know. Well, right. But again, I don't have the technology they do to analyze these things. So
yeah. And I think, excuse me, and I think you always put that forward in an honest manner. And I went to the insiders and I watched this show and participate in these conversations because I want those different perspectives. We are, like you said, the disadvantage of viewing it on a screen through a camera pointed at a not and then there's a narrative that the show and History Channel is going to tell us and edit. So, of course, we're going to perceive it differently and not be close to on the ground. But I joined the insiders to get more views. What did you catch? What do you think this might be? So yeah. I think I appreciate your respectful and honest approach at telling what you see.
Yeah.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
Well, it empowers all of us to be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I don't see it that same way either. Or maybe this makes me think of that. We could all look at the same event, and all of us will describe it differently.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Even being on the ground.
Yeah, that's very true. So yeah, you're exactly right. So with that said, folks, I wanted to thank you all for coming by here tonight. I really appreciate everybody that's come by and joining us. We can't, the season is over, but yet we're going to keep it rolling, right? So we got a lot of things coming up here in the next couple of weeks, actually for about the next month. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, and I, look at this calendar. I mean, if you can look at that, I mean, I got so much stuff on this calendar, quite honestly, and that's just, and we're halfway through. Well, not quite. It's the 11th today, but so next week I wanted to kind of let you know, and I've done a little short that I'm going to put out later on tonight, I guess, of this. But next week on the 16th, that is Wednesday the 16th, always at 7:30. Next week we have Chris Bledsoe coming on the show. Chris, I know, I'm so excited. Chris and David Russell, and also Miriam Garcia. David and Miriam. Miriam's over in Spain. She's going to be up really late for the podcast. It's going to be like 1 o'clock in the morning or 1:30 in the morning for her just when we get started. So, but these are two people who have shared in many of the experiences with Chris
and Shannon too, right?
Yeah, Shannon has
All
too.
three of them.
Shannon's going to co-host that one with me. Shannon and I are going to co-host that one. But like I said, Chris Bledsoe, David Russell, and Miriam Garcia. So I cannot wait. This is going to be an awesome show.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I know Jim and I are going to be in the chat watching.
That's on the 16th. Yeah, that's on the 16th next week. And on the 17th, then we got John Dover and Stanley Milford. Now, these two guys are the former Navajo Rangers that are now kind of known as the Paranormal Rangers. You guys have seen them on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. You've seen John on Skinwalker Ranch. And really, that's another show that it's going to be great. So that's on the very next night. So the 16th, Chris Bledsoe, 17th, John Dover, and Stanley Milford. So again, two back-to-back great shows. I can't wait. Yeah, I agree with that. But as far as Chris, yeah, that's going to be both of them. Actually, John, like I was saying last week, I was on the phone with John for about an hour and a half, and the stories that this man was telling me, I thought, just save all this for the show, because I mean, I was just sitting on the phone with him, just going, oh my gosh, and I probably said that way too many times.
Oh yeah.
But truly,
what else can you say?
I know. It really was crazy, some of the stuff he was telling me. But
fantastic.
He is such a man of you listen to him, you see him on TV and listen to him on the phone when I was talking. He comes across so genuine. And such a person of integrity that you just believe him. I believe him. I mean,
100%. I don't. They are men of deep integrity. They are men of experience. They have experienced a lot of these things. I mean, we've heard the stories of Stanley Milford talking about his encounter with skinwalkers, personal encounters. Yes. So he is not just a witness, he's an experiencer. And again, that's a recurring theme that we've had all throughout this season. And I think from here on forward, you can be a believer, and then you can also be an experiencer. And an experiencer is just adds a whole nother level. And that's what's great about
knows.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's like you have a faith, and then you have knowledge. When you have the faith, you have a belief. But when you actually experience it, that's when you actually have the knowledge. And nothing can take that away from anybody whoever experiences it.
No,
so,
absolutely.
I'm excited. Jeff, you have seriously a true 1-2 punch next week between Chris Bledsoe and John and Stan. I
can't believe it all came together. It's just like blows my mind just to think about it.
You got the two best Beyond Skinwalker shows, in my opinion. Those were the episodes. 100%. They saved the best for last. All of them were worthy of investigation and very intriguing, but the Navajo Rangers episode and Chris Bledsoe episode blew me away.
100%.
And I'm on team Andy and Paul and whatever this new production company is. Please give us more fourth wall breaks. Rail Splitter. I want to know, what the camera crew's experiencing more.
I know, right? Yeah. I would love, when it comes to any of these shows, whether it's Prometheus doing it or if it's Rail Splitter or whoever, wouldn't it be so cool to be able, I know they can't, but to get some of the production crew on the show and let them talk about things that they saw while they were there.
That's what I'm looking forward to with Phenomicon coming up, is we get to have Zach Harris, who is the cameraman for Russ Acord on Expedition Bigfoot. I'm so excited to hear Zach's perspectives on things.
I am too.
Zach's a beast to keep up with Russell. Carrying a camera, Russell's got a heavy pack, but walking while keeping focus and looking through a camera, that up a mountain through the woods, they're not on trails. Zach is a beast. Good.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I can't wait to meet him and hear him. He's actually going to present, I think, too, isn't he?
He is,
That's
yes.
going to be awesome. I can't wait for
Yep.
that. That's going to be great. Phenomicon is just, and that's the other thing we
Right
got
around
to
the
look
corner.
forward to. So Skinwalker Ranch is finished up for the season. We're going to talk about season 4 here tonight some. But also, we've got the shows next week and I wanted to remember to tell you guys that if you can watch from outside during Chris Bledsoe during that show, if you can go outside and watch. It sit outside if your Wi-Fi will reach outside where you can sit out there in the dark and watch. Who knows what is going to happen? That I can't. I'm not going to take questions for it because we've got a show that's just packed full already. But and unfortunately, but I want to hear later on if you've had any experiences that you can talk about. So we may do a follow-up thing with just the chat. And the people that were available to watch the show to see what happened. That might be a fun thing to do. So, but Phenomicon coming up, we've got that. And then, Jim, I think you said something about for the insiders. Did you want to talk about that a little tonight or?
Yeah. So we're just trying to, we're organizing a very informal get together, meet up with just these Skinwalker Ranch insiders that are coming to Phenomicon. It'll be held on Tuesday night, September 5th, and all the details can be found on Discord because this is not an officially sponsored Skinwalker Ranch insider thing. The ranch themselves have no interest in this. It's just me and Roger, because we live here in Utah and we're insiders. We figured we would try to create a very informal gathering where people can just get together, kind of pay your own drinks, pay your own food, but just kind of mingle and hang out from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. But all the details can be found under the Phenomicon planning thread on the Skinwalker Ranch Insider Discord. And we do still have some spots available. Space is limited because it is a restaurant that we're going to that's there in Vernal. But all the details can be found there. And I think we still have room for about a dozen more people to join us. So all the instructions for how to RSVP to that are on there. And absolutely, we'd love to have you join us.
It's just fun to hang out with all the insiders there. It truly is.
It's fun to hang out with you, Jeff.
Well, I don't know about that, but we're going to try depending upon Wi-Fi and all that kind of thing. We're going to try to go live while we're there also.
Cool.
And also I wanted to say too that I'm going to try to go live every day while we're at Phenomicon. During the speaker events, when somebody's up presenting on stage, we've been told, at least we were told last year, that we're not allowed to record it. We're not allowed to present, send it out. So during those, I will, if I'm doing anything, the volume would be very down, but I want to listen to them too. So I probably won't go live during that, but it'll probably be lunches and breaks and things like that. I'll probably jump on and go live. I encourage any insider or anybody that's watching this podcast, if you're going to be at Phenomicon, please stop by. I'll be hanging out at the insiders booth over there where the guys that from Skinwalker Ranch member support, Ryan, Mark, and Dave. David will be there. And I'll be sitting over there. Shannon will be there. Jim's going to pop in and say hi. He's going to sit down in the chair. We'll go live with Jim and whoever, and Roger hopefully will too. And we're just going to have some fun out there. And so I'll go live as much as I possibly can out there during that period. So because I know there's a lot of people that can't be there, and we want to be able to share what we can with everyone.
Jeff, are we going to go get tacos and go live as we go get tacos?
If you guys don't,
yeah, but we're going to keep that as a surprise for right now. Yeah, so we'll.
Yeah,
we're gonna. It's all right. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So I can't wait. So, but yeah, just got a lot of fun stuff coming up. So put the calendar away for a minute and carry on. So, thank you, folks, again for being here tonight. We love it when you all show up. And tonight is a chat interaction podcast. I do have some questions I'm going to throw out as we go along here. Thank you, Linda. Linda put that up there. It's got my name on it, but that's how StreamYard works. If you're interested in helping the podcast, there's my my PayPal account right there. if you want to help support the show in any way, really appreciate that. Or you can buy a one of the tumblers, and that's from Jess Grollo makes those, and well, she doesn't make the tumbler, but she does all the engraving on them, and it's got my logo on the side of it, and that's at blue6laser.com, and then /JFree906, and it'll take you right there. Or you can look at all the other ones. She's got a lot of different engravings on these different styles of tumblers and everything. Really good stuff. And I love the Skinwalker Ranch one that she did. It was really awesome. Yeah, there's the link right there. Linda just put that up. So thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. All right. So let's jump into this. Thank you. There it is. So season 4, in my opinion, blew my mind, blew the socks off of all the other seasons. And and like I was said, when we got started here, or I got started here, was that there was so many good things that happened throughout the season. It was hard to just narrow it down to a few. And I want to hear from you all out there too. Your takeaways, your best things that you thought were the best of season 4. And I kind of started off, me, I go back, and as I keep everything in sequential order. So I kind of went back, and I started with episode number 1 and was making my way through all of that. And then 2 and 3 and 4 like that. And trying to do it that way. And again, they save the best for last. But again, that's how they did their experiments, their exercises. We kind of followed along. I don't think it was so much like some other reality shows where they might grab stuff that was later on in the season and show it early and all that kind of stuff. I think we are actually seeing a chronological order of events, are we not? Do you think so?
I agree. Even within the episode, it feels like you don't. I mean, I'm going to pull from Prometheus's other show, Oak Island. I love it, but you do get that jumbled sense of like, when did they really find that? On the ranch, you don't get that. It's like you said, I feel like from start to finish, it was in chronological order. And even with them saving the best for last, those first couple episodes really were just like hitting you out of the gate, where I'm like, how is this going to get better?
I know. I agree. Yep. Yeah. So what I did, I'm going to show this one picture, and this is something that I know these maps are up. There's maps of the ranch all over on, in our, for the insiders. But for those of you who are not, I wanted to kind of show, hopefully my little point, there it goes. Okay. The pointer did work properly. I'm going to show this here. Now, this is a Google look at the maps or the ranch. And something I've always been a little bit unsure of is exactly where some of the highlight places are. We know where the east. I'm going to get my little highlighter going here. We know where the where most of the. Okay, why won't that go away? All right, there we go. The east field. We know where all of the east field is actually over past. Here's Skinwalker. It says Skinwalker Ranch right here, but this is the command center area right there. Okay, and of course the triangle right here where it shows. And it's kind of funny when you look on Google Maps, it actually says Skinwalker Ranch triangle on the map on there. That's cool. The one place that I was always a little leery of is exactly where the drill site was, and where the where they were drilling under and then down into the mesa on top. And that is actually right there. That little depression you see right there. That's where that's where it is. So, but most of the things that happen on the ranch, the anomaly wise, happen either in the triangle area or the east field, which I don't have the east field pictured here. But that's where the drill site and where where the thing is they're hitting is located, in this little area here. And then of course, Homestead 2, the Sherman point of interest where they said don't dig is right there. Homestead 1 is over further off to that side. So this kind of thing here kind of helps me to understand, where things are, because I was this depression right here. That's the one that always got me. He's exactly where that is. Sometimes, when we're looking at stuff. So anyway, that's why I put that particular picture up there. Let's see here. Let's jump over here and here's the east field. There's the east field in the triangle. And of course that depression is again right here. right around the corner from the triangle is that where the drill site was right there.
And can I ask you, while we're looking at this view,
Huh?
where is the tunnel that Lunasound found? Is that across from the triangle, or is that where they were drilling?
Triangle. That's triangle area.
That's by the
Okay.
triangle.
Yeah, that's triangle area. That
So
would
they
be
haven't hit that
right
with
here.
the drilling this season. They were hitting something else, or they were not able to get through something else at the drill site. Because there was the anomaly that Rafe, I'm so sorry, I don't have his name right, but when they did the snake ground penetrating radar up on top, and they found
the drill site.
Okay, so that is separate from what Lunasound detected. Or okay, cool.
Yes.
Just wanted to, while I was like piecing all this together in my head.
Yeah, they dragged when they did that, they dragged the one and I actually have pictures of that because I thought that was one of the highlights of the show. But oops, hang on a second.
Thanks, Joy.
Yes, thank you, Joy.
Is that a squirrel?
Appreciate that.
It is a squirrel. Hold on.
Ooh, squirrel.
Sorry. Yeah, squirrel.
Yeah. So when they dragged the thing across the top, that would, and it's actually, whoops, sorry, I got to. Let's scoot this over. There we go. All right. When they dragged the one across, and I forgot what he called it, but it was the one that Caleb was dragging behind him.
The snake.
Yeah,
GPR,
the snake one. Yeah, he was dragging it right across this area here, right across there, and then the one that Thomas was carrying, he carried it and he went all the way up and right around up through here, running around on the rocks. Okay, so that's where that was done. The Lunasound stuff was found right about in this area, like right in here, and then it went up on the ranch or up underneath the Mesa, something like that, roughly. I know that's not exact, but
and that's also where the blob is above the triangle, right?
Yes.
And the east field is where the megalithic stone circle is.
Yeah,
okay.
The stone circle, and you can't see it on here very well, but it's up here in this area, and then also the tower, the photogrammetry tower is the east field, also correct?
Yes, so that was last season, and the beginning of this season is when they got that. It always looks like a red dot right at the top of the tower. Was that Lidar that detected that out of the helicopter, or was it?
Yes, it was Lidar from the helicopter.
The slams, was that the slam scanner?
Yes.
Oh,
that Pete was holding out of the door. Yep, exactly.
See, there's so many. It's hard to keep track of everything they've detected. There it is.
And so as we ended season 3, that's when we got the tall tower. I call it the tower photogrammetry anomaly. But that's when we got that. Then when they went up in the helicopter and they were flying around, and that's when Pete was hanging out with the slam scanner, and they actually were able to match this up exactly. That they detected this anomaly in the air at about 300 feet. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's good. I like that. And then they were able, it actually matched up like perfectly. The Tower of Legos. Yeah, there you go. So it really matched up. So, I mean, and that's one of my big takeaways for season 4. And I'll go ahead and just state that now, was the fact that they were able to get some of the same data or the same anomalous areas by different technologies as they went through the entire season. That was one of my big takeaways.
Yeah. From drum circles and singing to drones to rockets to scanning, the ground penetrating radar, the
multispectral cameras. I mean, everything.
Lunasound, everything.
Yeah, showing anomalous areas all over the place.
Yeah, and getting and it ended on such a hopeful, if that's the right word, note with Eric saying, like, feel like we can start to get some answers. We're in grasp of this thing. Feel like we got we saw a little bit of that, what this partnership with Athena and Omnitech is going to yield in that last meeting. So,
yep.
Better.
PC Paul, Paul asked a question there about the missing LiDAR data. That if you're talking about that was the triangle. If you're talking about that blue where it had the black hole in the ground, we'll get to that when I go through each episode here a little bit. We'll get to that. So if that's what you're referring to, that was in the triangle.
What about the Paul? Sorry, not Paul. Pete Kelsey's like the black line.
I'll be getting to that.
Okay.
That was actually triangle. It was because he had set up that ground-based 3D LiDAR that he set up, and that was actually set up in the triangle looking northwest.
Okay.
So the drill site would have been looking towards the drill site from the triangle, if you can kind of imagine
right.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
So this was when they were flying in the helo, and immediately, if you remember, Travis had like an iPad or a tablet with him, and he was looking at the data that Pete was getting from the LiDAR, the SLAM scanner. And this was what he was seeing on his screen right off the bat. He was seeing this anomaly that was showing up right there with them out there with the helo when they were flying along. So they were seeing that up there. That's why, this was like another way to capture some weird anomaly. And he was remember how excited he got. He goes, "It's right there." And he was pointing out the door of the helicopter as they were flying around.
Is this what Pete said when he was speaking with the developers of this technology, was this what he said they thought was catching the helicopter blades, ghosting?
Oh, I think you might be right.
Because on one of the episodes, Pete is like, to be clear, they think this is ghosting. But I wasn't sure if that's what this was.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I think you're right. It was, yeah. Yep.
Or it could be. I'm not saying that I agree with that one way or the other.
Yeah. So that was kind of like episode number 1. They went out there, they got this anomaly, but they also got that right there. And so that was kind of like the big thing.
Yeah, that wasn't ghosting.
No, that was not ghosting. No. That was kind of the big thing for that's a big anomaly. You're exactly right, Miriam. So then episode number 2, which I thought was another great one right out of the box, was when they brought out Sky Elements, and the first time they brought out the drones to do the show. And that was the episode there. Pete Kelsey was also there.
Y'all remember how confident they were when they showed up?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I feel like they were a lot more humble the second time around.
You're awful quiet, Jim. Are we taking away all your?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jim. I'll mute myself. You talk.
No, you guys are fine.
So this is where Pete was setting up that it's a ground-based 3D LiDAR. That's where he was setting that up, and that's the unit that he was using right there.
Right.
And so and this was, I captured this picture here because what he says right there was they're all out of position. This was the issues that the Sky Elements guys were having right off the bat with their drone show. And I think, my thinking on this, and I want to hear from you guys in the chat also, is do you think my thinking is that it was mostly wrapped around GPS failures. I think that's, in my take on the drones from start to finish, well, besides the battery drain, the abnormal battery drain was the GPS. I think that some of them got confused about where in the heck they were.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to position themselves, or they were getting confused. Remember how some of them would pop out of the array and it would just kind of go around in circles like it didn't know where to go. It was trying to I don't know what to do. You get that? Did you get that same impression that it was mostly GPS that was just fouled up and they didn't know where to go?
It would definitely play into that theory that we've seen so many GPS anomalies, across multiple seasons now, where there's obviously, and Pete even referenced this, if I'm not mistaken, when you had him on one of the your shows, Jeff, is he mentioned that GPS is tied in with time, right?
Yes.
And so, is it therefore any surprise that we find out that there is a time? I don't know what the proper term is: time dilation, time displacement. There's a time
differential.
Differential. That's probably a good way of putting it. So if that really does in fact exist, and all evidence indicates that it does, then that would obviously seem to have some kind of impact on GPS, and might be why everything from the those water bottles that were dropped from the helicopter, that some of which they never found, to the black medicine ball things that Caleb dropped, to some of the other things, including what we're talking about right here. So I think GPS, probably there is clearly something that I think messes with GPS.
Yep. Now remember too that they all run off of, they use GPS to track their location or to know where to be when they're supposed to, where they're programmed. You go here and do this, and they work off the GPS. But also there was that the ones that Eric Bard makes, he was putting them on certain ones, not all of them, but he would put them on certain ones so that he could then track the GPS coordinates of them as they did their entire show.
Yeah, he makes his own, and there was 200 drones. I'd be really impressed if he made his own, 200 of his own.
I think the first go around he had 4. He put them on the 4 cornered ones.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Where it went up in the grid, he put them on the 4 corners, and those weren't the ones that went all wacky. So it wasn't his stuff that was creating that problem. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. And here's another picture real quick too. This is the one, I love this picture here because it just says so much. This is when the batteries were draining. They're just coming down.
Do y'all remember the ad? I thought, oh my goodness, they're sending the drones up, and the drones are like kind of shaping the anomaly.
That's precisely what I thought as well.
I was so, I don't want to say disappointed, maybe crestfallen, is that the right word? When I was like, it wasn't that. It just goes to show how much my emotion and expecting of what I almost always, am hoping to happen plays into my judgment and of images.
Bonus points for using crestfallen in a sentence.
Oh, thank you.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Linda was crushed. Thank you, Linda.
Yes, I know. I was too, and I thought the same thing. I thought it was wrapping around an anomaly, and and then we come to find out that they were all coming down.
Yeah, thank you, History Channel. You really got me on that one.
Yeah, Little Cat said it falls out.
Good job.
They didn't say that's what it was.
Exactly. Why?
It's a beautiful believe that's what it was.
Yeah, they didn't do anything. They just showed me an image of what actually happened, and my brain did the rest.
Yep.
It's a good lesson. I've learned a lot about myself watching a show like this that has a lot of crazy things that really is suggestive, and your imagination can go wild, and or mine can at least. So I've learned a lot about how I think and how I
GPS is global positioning, right? So I mean, it does use satellite, right? Technology to do that. So yeah, you're right. If some way or form it would get blocked, it could get blocked, and that would cause it to fail for sure. So mountains or whatever could do it. Yeah, for sure. But for it to happen, on just a couple of them, that's just weird. Why it would do that. So then we also, in that episode, this was still episode number 2. This is where they saw this cloud orb that Travis kind of described in this particular way, having this like line in it. Like this is the way he drew it out, is what he was seeing from this cloud form that was right here, which was, I thought it was a pretty good drawing that he had done of what he saw.
Yeah. And this reminded him of things did he not say this reminded him of things he saw while he was on the UAP task force?
Yeah. There was and I don't know if I have I think there's a picture of it later on. Well, let me see here. Maybe I can find it real quick. There was a picture of one. Let's see. I thought I grabbed. Maybe I didn't grab it, but there was one. It was a picture of the one that he saw that was on the UAP task force, and then he compared it to the two together, and it looked pretty close. It was pretty amazing actually that they were so close. Yeah, I tell you that right there, Paul, you're right. When we did the Lidar 101 with Pete, that was really interesting.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments of. Yeah. I think Jim froze on us.
Yeah, Jim's frozen. Yeah, Jim is. Oh, there he is. He'll reconnect, and then we'll bring him back. This is a.
Linda didn't ban him, did she?
Huh?
I said, did Linda ban him accidentally again?
You need 4 satellites. Okay, there's I Am Joy says you need 4 satellites to fix GPS issues. Interesting. I did not know that. That's very good. Thank you. All right, here's another picture, and this was the tracking data that. Oh, he lost his internet. Okay, this is the tracking data that Eric had. Now here's the east field, which you see no weirdness, and then the triangle data where you see all the weirdness.
Yeah,
pretty weird, huh? The east field, everything looks pretty good.
Yeah, very uniform, goes up.
Yeah.
So in the triangle, it didn't do that center column, right? And then is that there's data underground as well, right?
Yes, there's data underground. Yep. You see all this down here. That's where the Jeep. That's where they were having most of the issue was in the.
And that's where the Lunasound tunnel is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Jim got skinwalkered. Yeah. Yes, he did. Okay, and then here is that image that we all saw from Pete Kelsey, and this was from Pete's the ground-based 3D lidar. And we saw that void area. Now, remember, he said that he took this. It was from the triangle looking northwest was the direction of this. So this void area was northwest of the triangle.
And that's like, so the white data, I don't know if that's the right word. That's the face of the mesa?
Yes. Yeah. Everything you see that's white or even down here in the ground was trees and whatnot. You can see that some of these are trees. They're pretty obvious that they're trees or bushes or something like that. And this whole ridge right here is the mesa. And there's this big section that's missing right here. Now, if I go back and I'm going to try to do this here for everybody real quick, and I'm going to go back to my original picture.
So something blocked the light or moved it? Because it was shifted, right? It wasn't entirely gone.
Right. It wasn't gone. It was simply moved out of the range of the LiDAR.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So here, I'm going to bring this picture up. Okay. So I don't know where in the triangle that Pete was set up, but he was set up somewhere here in this triangle area with that unit, and he was looking to the northwest. Somewhere along that way, somewhere directional. And that's where the void area was, somewhere like right in that area there. Now, is that here's the drill site, and that's the area where they've had some, weird things going on where they can't drill into it. But and look what's here. You see all this right
I was just about to ask you to draw that out and say, look what that kind of connects or suggests that it is connected to.
I don't know what that is. I mean, obviously it's some sort of rock formation,
right.
But isn't that kind of weird? I think it's very strange looking. And when you zoom in on it, it gets even I mean, it gets a little pixelated here. Let me get rid of that.
Right.
But look at this. Yeah.
It reminds me of the Bimini Road.
Yes, I know it does, doesn't it? Yes, the Bimini Road.
Which isn't to say that this isn't natural, but sometimes like I think it's cool to like trust your instinct of like, what is that? Because even if there is a perfectly natural explanation for it, that journey of like going to figure out what it is, it's fun. And you know, I'm never disappointed when there's a natural explanation for something that sparks my curiosity.
Yeah. Is that the one? Sorry, Linda, I just changed that on you. Sorry.
Yeah, I believe so. Right, where
yeah,
it's covered. No. Hey, there he is.
Sorry,
he's back.
Internet connectivity with me right now. Apologies.
What? Oh, no problem. No problem. What we were just referring to, and I had gotten to the picture of Pete Kelsey's the void area from the ground-based 3D Lidar, and that was this picture here. Okay. And then I was showing roughly what I thought where it was in that picture I brought that picture up of the map. And here it is here. So I was saying that he was here with the unit, and that void area was right about in here somewhere, right about in there. So yeah. And then this is the drill site. So in that general direction, but yeah.
Cool.
And that's also kind of where that I know we'll get to it, but way later on. That's the same spot where the orb came out of the Mesa, right? Mm-hmm. Right there.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe you're right on that. So let's see here. So and then when they finally did look at that data, when they finally got it, oh, okay, good. Yeah, Paul, that's why I kind of thought maybe you were, yeah. And there's where it took that data from the missing area that you see right here, you know, and it put it way over here, which was way out of the range of the doggone unit. Yeah. Doesn't the missing GPS data show up to the northwest? Yeah. Or the yes, the LiDAR data.
Look at the geography.
Yep. And it was a long way away. So it was like he said, it was way out of the range. And if you look at the geography of the land, there are big rock formations and a line of formation. Yeah, exactly. Physically. Yeah, I don't know. How does that all happen? I don't know. We'll have to get Pete back on now that he's able to, that the season being over, he can maybe come and join us at this point and talk about this a little further with us. But yeah, so one of the questions that I wanted to reach out and ask everybody about before we get too far into this was, let me know yes or no of everybody that's here watching right now. We got about 95 people watching right now. So let me know what you think. The first question I wanted to ask is, do you believe that there is something, an anomaly on Skinwalker Ranch? After watching 4 seasons, if you've seen all 4, or if you've just seen the last one, do you believe that there is something, an anomaly on Skinwalker Ranch? Yes or no? And then we're gonna take that to a next step here in just a few minutes. But I wanted to ask that question. Now that you've watched this, and the reason I asked this question is because, again, you know, so many people that I talk to, and I'll mention Skinwalker Ranch to them, and they're like, if they've seen it, if they know anything about it, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's a bunch of, you know, crap out there. And that's what I said, these people obviously do not watch the show.
Right.
Because if you did watch the show, I don't believe you would say that. So far, we've got how many people? Everybody's, maybe. Linda says maybe. Okay. Yeah. You know, and I'm going to
like that. Maybe.
Yeah, she's still on the fence about it, and that's good. So far, we've got absolutes, yeses, yes.
I'm going to say no, just to be contentious.
Oh, see how you are? Oh, my gosh.
My answer is a resounding yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something.
Yeah, I don't know what else would be causing all that equipment failure and also causing a historical legend and folklore with that exact area. It's just, I don't think that it's too many coincidences on top of.
What was the question? Somebody mentioned under it. Michael said under it. Well, when I said on it, I didn't mean physically on it. I meant at the ranch. Okay, let's put it that way. Let me qualify that and say at the ranch, because it could be.
So that would be above, below, on it, but in a different dimension.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. I see.
I'm gonna say diagonally.
Ooh,
Very good.
diagonally.
It's like chess.
Maybe, yeah.
We've gone plaid. So yeah, so I kind of thought that everybody would feel that way. Okay, second question I'm going to ask, and then we'll move along. If you believe, and everybody says that they do, pretty much everybody.
I think we got one maybe.
We got a maybe, and then we got a could be. I saw a could be there too.
Okay,
that was from
good.
Jeff. Jeff said could be.
Diversity of opinions.
Yes, yeah, there you go. There's Jeff's could be. Now, with that said, if you believe that there is an anomaly on the ranch, if so, do you think it's technological? Do you believe it's a natural occurrence, something there naturally in the ground, or do you think it's an entity of some sort?
Okay,
technological. That means when I say technological, I mean
that'd be like crashed UFO,
machine type thing, something mechanical made by not other than nature, by some like man or alien or whatever, some sort of technology. Is it technology doing it? Is it a natural occurrence, something naturally in the ground or in the air or whatever that's causing it?
Geology.
Or do you think it's some sort of a entity? I'm curious what you guys think about that.
I say all of the above. and I'm not saying that just to be a wise guy. I think there's undeniably an organic, for want of a better term, or natural element to what the phenomena and the anomaly is, but there's also clearly some kind of, we would assume, technology involved, and I think there's been some good anecdotal and circumstantial evidence to show that it could be something beyond that, and it could be something interdimensional or some kind of entity of some kind. So I still think, for me, I'm still open-minded. I think it could be all of the above, or heaven forbid, none of the above, and it could be something we haven't even begun.
Haven't even thought of yet. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. It seems like everybody's in agreement, where everybody's kind of a mixture. I've seen a few that say it could be one. I don't know if I think it's any technology other than our own. I think it's natural, like some sort of vortex or energy thing, or thin interdimensional spot that entities and human consciousness has created all sorts of stuff around it. But I think it started with something natural. Yep. That's my feeling. What about you, Jeff?
I think it's a combination of all those things. And that's why I said that. I think there is some technology there.
You'll think like the metal tunnel is the technology? What's the technology? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I think the technology is something that is not made by, I think it's NHI, non-human intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And that technology is somehow utilizing something that is already there in the area, some natural something that's there, and making a vortex or something. Now, if you put all that together, it would have to be an entity of some sort that is turning it on and turning it off, because I don't think it's happening all the time. I don't think it's constant.
Right.
I agree, and I would take it one step further, Jeff, because the episode, and I don't want to jump ahead here, I'm sure we're going to cover it, but the metallic orb that was caught on camera, there is clearly some kind of form and structure to, unless I'm mistaken, most of the accounts of orbs that are showing up, both on the ranch and that we've heard, Chris Bledsoe and Mr. Miller during the Miller Ranch episode of Beyond Skinwalker, where he's talking about there's actual structure, and structure to me implies that there probably some kind of craft or some kind of mechanism, some kind of a device. They could be completely organic. I mean, I'm totally open to that idea as well, but it would seem to me that represents technology, because there's some kind of a structure, metallic. Yeah. It would seem structure to some of these orbs at least. So I think to that regard, that's where, for me, the technology comes in. Plus the fact that there was the metal shavings that were coming out of this big domed object in the Mesa, which we don't know if that was part of the tunnel or if that was something in the tunnel. So
we had the machine or the opinion of the University of Utah
that it was something
guy
that
who
was
said it was
manufactured.
machined.
It was fabricated.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
There is evidence of tech. I was forgetting that because when the sphere the metallic sphere, I don't think of it as a metallic sphere. I don't think of it as metal. If it can do transmedium, go through the ground and do those things, I don't think that's nuts and bolts in my mind. Correct. At least as I understand it.
I'm not saying it is one way or the other either, but
right.
for me, I'm still throwing out that term technological because it's still
you're right. Yeah,
in the realm of plausibility, and it's something
you got me over. You got me into all three category now.
I'm not trying. Okay, I am a New Yorker, so I'm naturally argumentative, but I'm not trying to be.
I'm a Texan, so you know.
Oh well, New York versus Texas. Come on, there you go.
Like a muffler pipe. Oh, okay.
Muffler pipe, yeah.
Yeah. What the thing that got me, and this is, and we're gonna kind of jump around a little bit just because we have to, because we're talking about different things. So that's why I didn't want to sit here and worry about trying to go in chronological order of the episodes. But when I saw these Lunasound come out and show that and said that some of them, there was like a steel, they were like metal tunnels or metal things down there. And then my brain immediately went to where you did, Seth, saying, well, when they drilled into the Mesa, not right there where the triangle is, but down just a little ways, and they were hitting metal, and then those metal fragments came out. I went, ooh, were they bumping up against one of these metal tunnels? And that's where that metal was coming out of there, but they couldn't drill into it. So it's a very hard metal, a very hard steel or whatever. And they got that europium and tellurium. Was that the other one?
Tellurium. Yeah.
Do those materials hold any commercial value?
Oh
yeah, because we were told that that's part of what the shielding on the space shuttle tiles,
the heat shielding on the space shuttle.
So that's what part of the commercial use is. And then of course, again, not wanting to jump ahead, Jeff, but when they discovered what they figured was the selenium deposits up on the upper part of the Mesa, that we know is currently being used in cloaking experiments for the Department of Defense and the military. So there's definitely, for want of a better term, technological applications for these minerals and elements that are being discovered that should not be naturally occurring inside this geologic location of where the Mesa is, because there's no evidence to support that there is, selenium occurring naturally anywhere else that anybody's aware of. And again, I'm not a geologist, so I'm not saying my word is gospel truth, but it seems to me that what would create that is some technological process. And then the big question is, well, whose technological process?
Exactly.
And when and for what purpose?
Yeah. I mean, too many questions on that.
Yeah.
So, Go ahead. Seth.
Oh, I was just going to say, Jim, you mentioned like Bledsoe metamaterials coming off orbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, I know, and in his book, he said he gave some to Tom DeLonge and Lou Elizondo, and he never got it back because it was national security reasons, right? So if Skinwalker Ranch is finding the same sort of materials that we know aren't naturally occurring, my fear is that the same thing will happen to them, perhaps.
I think you're right on the mark, Seth, and it's actually a conversation that I've had with a couple of my friends. And in fact, my wife and I were talking about this last night. For all we know, who knows? Maybe that convoy of black SUVs has already shown up at the ranch, and that's part of the reason why. And this is I totally accept this as just conspiracy theory, and so please don't take it as anything else.
Conspiracy theorist,
but there's but is it possible that part of the reason why we're getting some delay and even getting a ranch revelation is because that maybe there has been somebody from the government that has stepped in and said, okay, we've got to, figure something out. I mean, that's just completely me spitballing.
Yeah, right,
I'm
right.
not
Totally.
I'm not trying to put it out there, folks,
But
and
it
say, that this is what's happened. I mean,
made me think.
it's just simply me saying, is it a possibility? I think absolutely. And it also, I mean, how many times has Brandon said, in fact, it was in the recap for
He
Beyond
said it
Skinwalker
again.
Ranch.
Yeah.
He said, I'm genuinely afraid that we might get some, black SUVs show up and shut the whole show down. And
Mhm.
so why would Brandon say that unless he had,
I thought of that in his head.
reason to say it? And,
exactly. Yep.
we don't know. The only thing that we know from insiders is that there's been a lot of activity on the ranch for at least the last 3-4 weeks. And we don't know what that is. And that's, of course, by design, because
Right, they won't tell us.
they have to preserve the integrity. And of course, there's the NDA for the TV show. But
yeah, we want to see it.
Right.
On the show, right?
Whatever is going on, there is clearly something going on, and it's something that has been significant enough to make them have to truly focus on that and make it a priority, which it should be. So I think that whatever is going on currently has got to be fairly substantial as to why. And is the government part of that? Certainly a possibility.
Yeah. I'm gonna steal.
Now I'm talking too much.
No, not at all. That was good. I'm gonna steal the chat for a second there, Linda, and I'm gonna put this one up. I thought this one was funny. A very patient entity.
Right. Well, time
with us.
Yeah, I think it experiences time. I mean, if it is an entity, it experiences time differently than us. It's older than us.
Yeah. You remember the old movie? It was a long time ago, and I don't know if even when they were talking about doing moon shots, and there was a picture of the man on the moon. It had a rocket stuck in his eye.
Yep.
Yeah,
remember that cartoon picture, and he's
Voyage to the Moon. I saw
Voyage to the Moon, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why do you keep shooting rockets at me?" So anyway, I digress.
No, that's actually a great question. I mean, and that brings up a whole nother realm to this discussion. If it is an entity, how is time reckoned in other dimensions? Is it going to be reckoned the same way and in the same linear fashion as it is in our dimension? And my guess is probably not. So that's, again, we could be dealing with something that is truly older than, Homo sapiens.
Idea. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So,
okay, just real quick too, digressing here. I think the pyramids and the stuff in the Sphinx and all that are way older than what they think. Anyway,
I agree.
That's
count me in.
I think they're way off.
Where are the where are all the tools? Yeah, I'm sure some.
I think they're way off on their estimate.
I'll drink to that.
Who made them? All right, let's get back to the episodes real quick because we got a lot of them to go through. Well, and like I said, we don't have to do them in chronological order, but I just kind of wanted to kind of talk about some of the highlights. And this is Jan when he came out there to do the GPR. He's a GPR expert, and that's when he came out. And we know that this one was supposed to be that Thomas is carrying. We know that one was supposed to be flown by a drone. The drone, Pete Kelsey came on the show with us, and he talked about that one. Said that the drone was too unstable, and so therefore they put it on Thomas. And right off the bat, remember his data that Jan was getting on his little reader there was way off. But he said, "Oh, well, let's go it." And Thomas went and ran around that Mesa, up and down and all over that place, and wore himself out because we heard about him talking about how much work that was, and the insiders. But anyway, the data was pretty much useless from that. And then we had Caleb that pulled this one around up there, and that's the one that gave us the great information. There it is, pulling it right there. There's Caleb up there with Jan, and this is the data that Thomas got that is unusable. But this was the data that Caleb got with the one that he was pulling. I forget what the name of the one he was pulling was. I was trying to go back in my notes and look, and Jan Anderson, who does a great synopsis for us, and I was looking through her notes, and it was in there, I know, and I just didn't see it quickly enough. But if anybody can remember what this was, but this is the one that gave fruit right here, showing that there is some sort of I was going to say cavity, some sort of a anomaly in the Mesa that is picked up by that GPR and was just 20 feet down below the surface,
20 feet.
Yeah.
And 40 meters tall, something like that. 40 meters tall.
Yeah, about 120 feet tall. What was it?
Yeah.
30 feet wide ish.
Yeah.
40 feet wide.
Yeah. That's crazy. And they're still trying to get to it. And then we know that the drilling that took place, here's the metal fragments they found last season. Well, now that is last season. Okay, season 3. This is some of the metal fragments that they found from season 3. So we know that there's something in there, or at least a hole or something in there that they're trying to get to. But yet, if it's a hole, or if it's one of these, the portion of this tunnel, they got the metal fragments out of there. I mean, I think this is very significant. I think that in itself, these metal fragments, and now you put that together with Lunasound, what they found and what they're saying, I think this is really a very significant find in a place of that they have to figure out a way to get in there. Hopefully in season 5, they're figuring out a way to drill down into this thing and get a camera in there or something. I don't know.
Agree.
I really hope they are. Yep. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Linda's answering the question. Prometheus had nothing to do with why there wasn't a ring. Yeah. No.
What would you say? 60 feet wide cavities? Like, that's,
yeah. They said
there's so much in there.
You could, they're huge. They're not small passageways.
Yep.
So
let's go spelunking.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I've been spelunking down in the Mammoth Caves.
Storming the castle, boys.
Cool. Yeah.
Storming the castle.
This is another guy, Burdette, coming out with his stuff. He's now we got into the episode where
the blob
was found, and this is why I picked. This is one of my big finds or big revelations of the year, of the season, was the blob. I know a lot of people, or some people are just dismissing this thing altogether. That it was some sort of a cloud from a previous rocket that was shown, and it was from the smoke. Well, it doesn't sit there like that in a blob, especially when it's a little bit windy out. It's going to blow away quickly. You know how when you go to a fireworks show and they're shooting all the fireworks, then if it's not a very windy day, if it's very still, how the cloud from all the fireworks ends up clouding the fireworks, the new ones that are being shot. This is not that.
I wonder, like, if someone, because I'm in the camp of like, I'm seeing something. The photogrammetry, or not the Travis has multiple degrees, and I looking at stuff, if he doesn't think it's smoke, Burdette doesn't think it's smoke. People on the ground describe the weather conditions as, and the symmetry of it. I mean, I could see the light thing, but how do you account for the rocket?
Yeah,
blowing up getting blown up there at that same spot.
Exactly. There's
That's
more
just a coincidence.
There's more correlating data to support the theory that it's something, because
correct.
Look at all the subsequent rocket launches that show that there is something clearly deflecting the trajectory of the rockets, and there's
then a helicopter.
Nothing else that should account for the fact that these rockets are being deflected at about that 31-foot mark. And it just, the stuff that happened in subsequent episodes after this only support the fact that that is something significant. What? I don't know, but it's significant, and it's definitely very real. That's the way I look at it.
Yep, I agree 100%. 100%. And, it was interesting that as the rocket got closer to it, it got brighter and brighter. But even here, when the rocket is just launching, it's just taken off, and you can see that anomaly very clearly right there. Yeah, and it hit it. Miriam said, yeah. And I at first I thought, oh, that's just where the rocket blew up because it was blowing out of the side of it and it was launching, but that's where it actually just blew up at that point. Well, even if that's the case, that you watch it go up and they showed it again the other day, and that's where I got, but the rocket blew up when it got right about there. That's where it went, poof, and then it just lawn darted after that. But that's where it happened, right there, about that level, right there, and that's not a coincidence.
And it's also not a coincidence because remember, they even went back and looked at the video of the previous season, where during the last episode of season 3, where they were launching a rocket through that same area, and what happened? The rocket exploded, and what altitude was it at? It was at roughly that same 31 foot altitude. Right. That the big, huge rocket from the ending of season 3 exploded. So again, I see too much coincidence there for it to be some mundane or prosaic explanation. That's
I agree, Jim. And for me, I'm gonna like kind of go jump all in, and like if there is an entity, and I believe it has a trickster element to it, and this looks like a Kachina. Aren't like there's like the twins,
Kachina,
and they're supposed right? Yeah, and I know some of them are like tricksters, right? They'll mingle and like kind of interact with us.
Yep.
I mean, they're not. That's not the. But yeah, it's so. I mean, it totally plays into the entity thought.
Yes,
so I feel like I don't know if
Kachina shaped. Yes, anomaly. Yeah, Linda brought it up here too. There are Kachina shaped petroglyphs, pictographs around. Yes, there are.
I like C. Martin said, "Guardian of the wormhole."
Maybe because remember that's something that the one guy that went up and looked at the pictographs that are on the rock right down there in the East Field that are they talked about being guardians. And remember,
I like that.
Remember too that the indigenous peoples, in many cases, when they did a pictograph or a petroglyph or whatever, they were recording what they saw in most cases, or they were recording life. They were recording hunting. They were recording what they were doing, just like we do, taking pictures and stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
So where would they get the idea of something that looked similar to this picture right here? Because they saw it.
They didn't have things like the internet or Star Trek or Star Wars or Marvel, cinematic universe to draw these kind of things from. They were looking at things as they experienced it, or at least as their elders recounted the stories to them. But I think in most cases where those petroglyphs and stuff are concerned, I think those artists, and again, only the artists themselves know what the true meaning is behind them, but chances are it's stuff that they saw with their own eyes. Mm-hmm. It makes sense to me anyway.
Yep. It has to make you think a bit for sure. I keep going back to the First Nations people. Yeah, I do too. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's always, and I'm glad. And I didn't really capture pictures of this for tonight, but I really applaud them for reaching out to the locals. I've said that before. There was two guys that came. I've forgotten their names already, but there was two guys that came and talked to Candace and Tom. And then they went out to the radio station and they talked to them, and he went out over there. And that's what got those two guys to come, I think, is when they went to the radio station and announced it. So I'm really glad that they're talking to the indigenous folks, because I think they are key to all of this.
They are crucial to helping us, not just solving it, but crucial to keeping it in perspective, because this has been part of their culture, and we are still trying to learn from them. And I think we'd be cutting off our nose to spite our face if we didn't, again, using that term that I've used before, if we don't approach it with humility when it comes to these Native American traditions, because they're crucial to us getting perspective to understand what some of this may be.
Yep.
And what they may have called magic, or what we may call magic today, is still just science we don't understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
And someday we will. But if we don't have that foundation of understanding what the Native American traditions are, and most importantly, have respect for them and have reverence towards them, then we are not going to learn at all. And I think what you just said is so important, Jeff. And that's why I think it's so wonderful that we've got John Dover and Stan Milford coming on to teach us about that.
Mhm.
That's what I'm looking forward to with that, is just to be, I want them to teach me. That's kind of what, for me anyway.
Yeah,
Again, I'm talking too much. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about, I feel like we've talked about like how humans have lost a lot of knowledge along the way. I think First Nations people here on this continent and then other parts of the world, they have a stronger bond with that ancient knowledge than we do. And, and thank God they do. And thank God that there are those of them like John and his partner Stan and the ones who went on the show that are willing to share it with the rest of us. Extremely grateful, and everything you said, Jim, was spot on. And initially that's what drew me to the show, was just an overall interest of the mysteries and history of the Southwest. There's something special going on in your part of the country, Jim.
That's one of many reasons why I'm so grateful I live in Utah. I mean, seriously, it's a weird place, but I love it here. Really. And they have great tacos. So
very hot in the summer and very cold in the winter. But there you go.
Yes.
So next, they brought out in the next episode, they brought out Alan here, and this was we're only up to episode 4, so we got to keep moving along here. But
oh man.
Well, you know, we're jumping around a little bit too, but anyway, he came out with the crane, if you remember that, and he was moving some of the boulders out of the way, and so that they could, you know, get in there and do some work. I was going to mention too, remember, you know, going back over in the East Field where they've got that boulder with the pictographs on it of the portal and of the these protectors of the portal and all the snake and all that kind of stuff that's on there. And that boulder, if you remember, has broken loose and is sitting, you know, like I think moved down the hill a little bit. And I'm wondering about all the other ones that are around it that might be laying face down of what might have been drawn on it. And now it's laying face down over there, because if you look at that jumble, remember when they were doing that, and I'll get to that point, but when they had Blazing Bear out there and you saw Thomas was standing up there in the boulders by that pictograph. What other ones might be? And those boulders are all laying around all over the place. He was climbing on them. What ones might be face down that might have more on it?
That's a great point.
I think about that all the time. It's like, turn them all over, roll them around, because you might be missing. You can't do that. You need a crane to do it. But
at the same time, though, I would have faith that Eric and Travis, and especially if Jim Morris were involved, that he would probably encourage them, you know, hey, take a close look at those ones that we're removing, because there may be some kind of key valuable evidence in the form of petroglyph, pictographs, you know, what have you, that there may be some kind of important data, for want of a better word. So I'd have faith that they're doing that. At least I'm hoping so.
Yeah, me too. This was also the episode where Eric was up and he had his ray gun in his hand there going on. And then also at the same time, you see Caleb sitting over there on the other side. And what's on the floor there around his feet? Yes, it is the medicine balls.
The black kickballs.
Yes, the black kickballs that he was dropping out of there.
Dodgeball.
Yeah. I'm just glad that none of them went off to, you know, you look how high up in the air he is, and you see what's down there. Now, he is a little bit away from they're not directly over top of the command center, but, you know, at that height, would one of those go through the roof? Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing. So,
well, just think of the damage that happens from golf ball sized hail. I mean, that's enough to damage, you know, a car. It's enough to break through a window of a car. So something like that's conceivably what, 20, 25 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would, dropping from that height, you get that terminal velocity, mass plus velocity. Not pretty.
Right. Could make a mess of things real quick. And I thought, do we know that they ever found all of them?
I could be wrong, but I thought they said that they didn't. That maybe they weren't all accounted for, but I could be wrong on that.
I think you're right. I think they were not all accounted for, and I don't know. We haven't had an update on that. If they ever did find them all, I don't know. But yeah,
stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more. Yes, indeed. And also, while they were up in there, you saw this right here. Now, if anything is about to freak somebody out, and and we've mentioned this before, who do you want to be with if you're flying somewhere? What pilot do you want to be with when all this weirdness is happening? It's Cameron.
Wedge Antilles.
Yeah, we lost GPS. Yes, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's when that happened right there. They lost GPS, and that was not settling well with him during that flight. But this is also when this happened. Do you remember this? The helo flying right there, and then later when they looked at the data, they got that little orb that's flying around there. And remember the one when this was in season 3, the one that they captured that went underneath it, and it was throwing off his ground or his altimeter. It was throwing it off, saying he was only 40 feet above the ground or 20 feet above the ground or something like that.
40 feet. Yep.
Yeah, 40 feet. So, yeah. So, and you see that thing flying. I mean, there's, again, and that was one of the questions that I had was, do you feel that these orbs that are being spotted all the time now, they're finding them all the time around the ranch, flying around. Do you feel that they are truly an orb of some sort or a craft of some sort, whether it be manned or unmanned? They've seen a lot of them. What do you guys feel about those? Is anyone out there feel that they're just simply a bug or a bird or something they're not identifying correctly? Yes, we will get to that point too that Linda brought up earlier. But what do you think about that? What do you think about that?
I think we have to always hold out the possibility that there could still be mundane and prosaic explanations to some of the anomalies that are captured on some of the other sensor platforms that are not, like the FLIR, and this image right here. But if anything, what Skinwalker Ranch has taught us over these last 4 seasons is that just because we can't see activity going on with our own naked eye doesn't mean that there's stuff that's there. And these different sensor platforms are showing that there really are objects of some kind flying around that we can't see with our unassisted naked eye. And I think that is particularly fascinating.
Fascinating and terrifying, like Brandon says. Yes. Terrifying and exciting all at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah. Because if there is stuff like that flying around, then to a degree, Linda, we can tease it a little bit. I've been told we can tease it a little. So if you're referring to the medicine ball.
Yeah. So,
no. Okay.
We're talking about I think, Linda was. As far as what are the orbs? I don't think they're manned. I think they are controlled with consciousness, and I don't think they're. Like Beth just said, I feel like it's like plasma controlled with some consciousness projection, and they use them as like some form of drones, or I don't know, but I don't think they're manned. And I've been our fellow insiders have opened my mind up to like plasma, and I'm with Beth on that. They may be plasma entities. That's what I think.
Sherry, I want to answer that question, Sherry, and I'll make a comment to that. We have to be very careful about what we share from the revelations. I know I do mention a couple things here and there, but we have to be very careful what we mention here about the ranch revelations and the chips and salsa and all of that. That's insider information. And if people want to really know more about that, they need to become an insider. So we can share a little bit. So be very careful with that, please. here on the show. So,
but yeah, B. Jones says sentient plasma. That's kind of where I'm leaning on these orbs.
Because they can change shape and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and they go through the spectrum of color.
Yeah.
They're transmedium. They seem to react to events.
Yep.
I think they like certain people. I think they appear to certain people first on purpose.
Yeah. There you go. So yeah, here's the drilling that they were doing, and if you remember, that was the new. It was right after the crane moved all those things out of the way, and then they came in. They drilled again. They got in there, and they were drilling into the mesa. They got in there about 270 to 280 feet. They ran into something very hard again. He was applying about 8,000 pounds of pressure against it for 30 minutes and got nowhere. And even with all that, they pulled out the drill bit, and it was absolutely fine. So, again,
force field. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
What does the chat think? Is that force field or clay? I saw some people, that were saying maybe like you can get stuck in certain kinds of clay where it just like spin and won't move. But I would think that the drill operator would be familiar with that. If he, like Thomas said, he was like one of the best
in the area,
world-renowned drill guys for this type of drill.
Straight shot oil fill services. Yeah.
So what did Jeff? What do y'all think? Y'all think it's like a force field keeping it from getting those? What was the difference this season, last season? Where last year they got those materials, and this year they didn't get anything.
Right. Yeah. Good question for the chat. What do you guys think? What were they drilling up against and could not penetrate? What do you think it was? Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
Stephen Greenstreet's ego.
Nice.
No. Nice. In all seriousness, I think there's certainly a possibility that there was some kind of energy barrier of some kind, and Travis even talked about that in the episode. I would certainly love to hear more behind the potential theory for that. Or there could be, it could be like some people have said, it could be there's clay. So my answer is I don't know, but I sure find it fascinating. Which I know I say a lot, but it's I really am kind of drawn in by the possibility of that whole force field thing, and it would in some ways it would seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
and that, remember they were getting those spikes on the the 33 frequency that the drill was operating on with their that seemed to
the drill the drill definitely put out a 33 megahertz. That's where they could track the drill head with that unit they went up on there with, and but when they pushed against it, they were getting all those harmonics.
That's
and then when they backed it off, it flattened out.
Like
harmonics, pull it back. What would cause that to happen? And that's the only time that they were getting all those harmonics was when they were pushing against that with the 8,000 pounds of pressure.
Right.
And then they backed off. And what what do I think about what's in the Mesa and what are they drilling up against? B. Jones is asking that question of me. I think it's a very hard type of metal. That's what I think. And I say that I used to think it was some sort of no friction. It's some sort of a metal that's not causing a lot of friction is what I think. And I used to think it was like a force field type thing of some sort. But now with the Lunasound and the metal that he talked about, it makes me feel like it's more of a weird metal combination that we're yet to discover.
I just had a thought pop into my head, and you guys, if you didn't think I was certifiably crazy before, you're going to think it now. Okay.
All right.
You know how we say there's no such thing as coincidences?
Yes.
Well, the metal that's there is extremely hard. It's extremely durable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you guys remember what the name of Brandon Fugel's shell company was that he was operating Skinwalker Ranch under before he went public?
Oh,
no, but I did at the time. But
Adamantium Holdings.
Adamantium Holdings, yeah.
For those of you that don't know, adamantium is what the Marvel Comics character Wolverine. He's indestructible. It's an indestructible kind of metal, and So I think that that's just something that some silly thing just popped into my head.
That's interesting. That's
adamantium, vibranium.
What does he know that he's not telling us?
Just me thinking way too much, I'm sure.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
I feel like a lot of these artists, authors, here's where y'all will think I'm crazy. I feel like a lot of artists in our society channel this like universal knowledge, and they put it into our consciousness through art forms, so that we can kind of actually, like, I feel like they're touching onto something, like they're channeling some sort of truth.
I totally believe that,
knowingly or not. You know what I mean? Like,
I totally believe that.
Yeah. Okay.
Kat just came up with a thought there. Yeah, the years have eroded it to a form of concretions harder stone that had to be mixed into while it was hot. So, I mean, if it's something that was put down there a long, long time ago, is it starting to degrade? And that's why they got those little metal chips out. I don't know. But this is that area right here, folks, where they're drilling and they're hitting something. That's why it's so important to get in there. I hope they figured out a way to do it this summer so that we can see this in season 5, see them in there.
SMS Pirate just made a fantastic statement. Like photosynthesis for humans, our energy is attached to what we create. And as an artist, I can tell you I 100% endorse that thought. That's
interesting.
That's truth right there.
Yep. Well, we know that they found what they think is selenium. And selenium, some people have brought up all kinds of different things about selenium, about what it may be used for and that kind of. Selenium also is, I used to be, in one of my former lives, I was a copier technician, and selenium was a substance that was on a drum. They called it a selenium drum, and that was what the image that was transferred when it scanned it, an optical image was transferred onto a selenium drum and then printed off on paper. And they used selenium. It was a thin coating. It was almost like a mirror-like coating around the drum that created that. So I was very familiar with selenium as well. But I never saw it in red form like this, but who knows, or pink or whatever. The pink. Yeah. So that was, interesting stuff to find something like that in there, if that's what it was. I don't know if they got a sample of it. I don't think they did, but to be able to test it.
I think they did, because didn't they send a sample off to the University of Utah, and they confirmed the selenium and a bunch of other elements, including, and I want to say including the europium was part of what was taken out of that sample. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I thought that was what they got out of the drill truck, out of the back of the drill truck. That was the europium and the tellurium. The selenium, I thought, was just they thought that's what it was. They didn't actually get a sample. I can't remember, but I thought that was the case. I could be wrong. David Mason, he was out on the ranch. He's the one that had the 3 different lights. And then was doing nothing really came too much of that, other than they did get a orb or a UAP sighting during that time that he was there. And that's when they saw that purple light. That's when they saw that flash, or I should say Thomas is the one who saw it. Some people were, it went back and forth about it. That was from their own unit out there. No, it was not that light. It was a different light that he saw. And then they decided to put those trail cams out there and that was in the south field. Okay. Yep. That was in the south field that they set up those trail cams. And they also found that burnt post. That is still a big unit for debate on that post and how it got burned like that. I'm on the fence on this one. Thank you, Birdwatch. I'm here all week.
Oh my
I'm sorry, I laughed so loud, y'all.
But no, I mean, I don't know what to make of this. I really don't. I mean, they had the gentleman, I've forgotten his name now, but he came out there and he looked at it.
Yeah.
Don Mitchell, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, he said it. Yes, thank you. He said it was not a lightning strike.
There was no accelerants on it, so it wasn't a case of some kind of fuel being placed on it to set it alight. So
there was no, and the one thing that he pointed out that took it away from me also was that he talked about the fact that there was no, it didn't burn like this from a fire on the post itself while the post was a post. Obviously, this was a branch or something that somebody used for a post. But he said that there was no blackening up here from the smoke and all that coming up here on the top. And if it would have been laying down and partially burned in a fire, then you would see some of that soot would be blackened on the backside here a little bit, which is not also. So how did it burn like this?
Plasma
burn. Yeah.
Right. To me, it reminds me of like how the cuts are made on a cattle mutilation.
Oh, yeah.
Very precise.
Yes, it was very precise, was it not? Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, I liked him pointing out that, like you said, that there wasn't like smoke or
and also we need to mention again, it was ruled out there was no way it was lightning because there was not enough peripheral debris and enough peripheral scorching of the vegetation and elsewhere that would be prevalent had there been a lightning strike directly on. And a direct lightning strike on a fence post like that would have most likely completely shattered it.
Oh, yeah, I would agree
hundreds,
with that.
if not thousands.
Oh, yeah. I've seen lightning strike a tree before. Well, the aftermath of a lightning strike in a tree, and it splintered it into. Pretty
I had a tree in one of my front yards get hit, and it was a big tree, and it fell over and blew up.
Yeah, Cat says it perfectly. It looks cauterized, and that's exactly what my thought was when I saw it. It looks like something has been cauterized. I
agree with Beth. Plasma orb just flew right through that fence post.
That's actually, if I'm being honest, that's kind of where my thought process.
Yeah, I know.
Could be wrong.
5 years ago, I never would have said that. New world.
Yeah, new world. All right. So in one of the next episodes, they bring out this gentleman right here who I had his picture up there just a moment, Mr. J. Stratton. And you were former director of the UAP task force, was Travis's boss. And now they're in a band and they're jamming. So we still want to see them jamming at Phenomicon.
I'm going to bring my Gretsch just in case.
All right, sounds good. So Jay came out, and as you remember, they took him on a little ride around the ranch, and they were wondering if the ranch would respond. How many times have we heard that type of a phrase made before about the ranch responding to someone? And I think it did in a very big way. But this shows the track where they were, one of the part of the track where they were going to take him around in the Jeep with the GPS tracker on it. Now they did this, and when they were going around, he got out and he was showing where he had this. This is one of those tales that you hear, and I'm going to ask John about this, John Dover, because John kind of mentioned this too in one of his things. When you get to a point where you have that, something was affecting all three of these guys that were walking down the path or the trail that night, and they came to a spot that they could not go past. And where there was infrasound or whatever it was that was affecting them, they were caught by something that was not allowing them to go any further. I've had that happen to me recently in the last year where I had that a fear take over me that I have never felt before, except for when maybe I was a little kid and afraid of the dark or something, but I've never had that feeling before. But they could
know it all too well.
They could not walk any further from this point. And I mean, that's if I could ever have Jay come on the show, I'd love to get more information about that from him.
And from that, sorry, Jeff, if I didn't.
Oh no, please go ahead.
From that perspective, they weren't able to cross that line, and he could see Homestead 2, and that's where he saw the shadow figure.
Yes.
And did it have red eyes, or am I making that up?
I don't remember.
I think he did mention that. The number one question that I have for him, Seth, and maybe you as well, is, was it Hat Man? Because if
Was
it
it
was
what? Say that again.
if it was Hat Man, oh my gosh, I'm gonna just be like, that's if I get a chance to talk to Jay at Phenomicon, that's one of the questions I intend to ask him is,
That'd be good. But when you do, make sure I'm around because I want to hear his answer to that too. Yeah, for sure. This is the track they took before they had Jay with them. They went and they said, this is where we're going to take him. And then we're going to bring him back and we're going to follow the same track, the same stops, the same. Well, I think they did it after. This was the one they took after because they took him around and they stopped. He was there at Homestead 2 for a little while. They did that and then they double back. So this is the same track that they took without Jay. This is the one they took with Jay. And then, of course, we saw the Jay underground. So, again, the GPS, it was fine when they were doing it here. It was absolutely fine. No problem at all. But when they had Jay in the truck or in the Jeep, they had that happen. And the GPS went crazy, and it went crazy about the spot of all the weird strangeness on the ranch. Right there between Triangle and Homestead 2, right by the drill site. That's where it took place. That's, again, not a coincidence. How did that happen? Just don't really know. I'm going to try. Yeah, though, answering SMS Pirate's question, I'm going to try to go live at least once a day while I'm there. Probably somewhere during a break or whatever. And I really encourage people to come by. If you're going to be there, whether you're an insider or not, please come by. Okay. Cheryl Carter says sirens going off at her place. Tornado. Good vibes and prayers for her. Yeah, think about that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just got that message from Linda. Thank you, Linda, for sharing that with us. So, oh boy,
Jim, you just bought her book, right?
Not something you want to see. What's that?
Just bought Cheryl's new book. It's fantastic, folks. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
All right, cool. Yeah, great. Thanks for bringing that up.
Best wishes, Cheryl. We're praying for your safety and well-being.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And then, of course, we've got the trail cam that found this little thing right here. This is another one of my big highlights for the whole season.
And it came from a trail cam.
And it came from a trail cam. And how did it catch it?
All that technology.
Yeah,
and the trail cam got it.
A simple trail cam that you can buy.
So that was my thought, where I was like, "That's some $30."
I don't know.
Yeah, $30. I think I have
$30. I think they cost about $30. You can buy it.
It was like 35,
and it captured this fantastic picture right here of. I think that is a UAP, and I think now, and again, this is one of those times where I differed with the guys because they were saying it was back at the tree line. And I was saying it wasn't. I think it's in the field halfway across from this point to the tree line. I think it's in the middle of the field. And I think it was, we lost Jim again. I think it was passing through the area and it just happened to catch it. It was flying through there so fast. It just happened to catch it. In one frame.
Just happened to, or it meant itself to be catched. Like we always say, there's no coincidences. I lean more towards. I mean, I think it just like with people when it like it says, okay, you can see me now, because this technology could stay fully cloaked all the time, and we wouldn't be able to see it ever. But I think sometime with the naked eye or with the trail cam, I think this. I mean, maybe we got so super lucky, and we just happened to. I don't know what the odds are, but I lean more towards I think it wanted to be seen on this trail cam.
Yep.
Maybe it was them saying, hey, you guys need to be looking over here at me.
Yeah, exactly. So that means right there, that tells me you don't have to always be looking up. And it doesn't have to be at night.
Oh, that's a great point.
You can see these on ground level. And that's something that Chris Bledsoe says also, right?
Mm-hmm.
He sees them at ground level. He sees them going through the tree.
Oh, yeah.
He sees
them. Well, yeah, the tree line one, that wasn't a satellite. That's not.
No, you can't call that one a satellite for sure. Absolutely. So this, I think, was a very, very significant catch. And Caleb and Bryant got that one with the trail cam. So that was awesome. And there's Mr. Pete again. And he is out there with his multispectral camera. And then we saw Joe. Joe was the guy that was up trying to drill into the top of the mesa with that little drill that just wasn't going to handle it. And I think they simply worked it so hard it burned up. I mean, it just couldn't handle
Didn't
it.
he? Yeah. And what, he ended up going like a month or something, maybe more. I can't remember if the show told us. But
it was.
He thought it would be like a couple days.
Yeah. About 24. Well, he said he was getting about, I forget how much he said, a foot an hour or something like that. So we were thinking about 24 to 48 hours. If he stayed at it constant. So we were thinking maybe about 3 or 4 days. And then after a couple of weeks of drilling, and then the motor just gave up. Or did something say, "Oh, you've got to that point now. We're gonna shut you down," because he did get almost to the point of where they thought the top of that anomaly is.
And they had to keep pumping water up the mesa to then pour into the drill, right?
Yeah.
So they're pumping that whole time water up there. I'm sure that costs fuel and water.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of effort.
A massive effort, and then it was fruitless. That they got nothing out of it, and that's the worst part, in my mind. That nothing was able to come of it after all that work and time and effort. This is the multispectral camera from data from Mr. Pete Kelsey, and this is what he found. Remember the 3 circles? And that was right there by the bait. This was the biosensor cage, and they also saw those lines that they ended up going out, and they saw these lines across there, and they went out and they did the digging, and they found this layer underneath there of this substance that they tested and found out that it had sodium, magnesium, aluminum, potassium, calcium, iron, manganese, had all kinds of stuff in it. And again, so that was very so what this stuff was and who put it there, was it intentional? Again, the question for the chat. What do you think about all this? Do you think that those lines where somebody had put those in the ground at some point? Some people said it was runoff from the hill or from the mesa and all this kind of stuff. I don't think so. Then they found it underground. What do you guys think it was? Bigelow, did he do a lot of excavation there? They had a bulldozer there at one time, I think. Yeah. They had a bulldozer out at Mount Wilson Ranch. So what do you guys think that stuff was? Do you think there's any significance to this? And the 3 circles or the 4 circles that Pete found with the multispectral camera?
I think
the Egyptian-looking lines.
Yeah, I know. I go back to that Egyptian thing because of this curve right here.
Eye of Horus, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's to me, it's like with crop circles. Like, there's just certain symbols that, like, you can look at and you're like, I don't know this, but some part of me knows this, and I feel that looking at this. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but it's like,
well, the other thing we want to bear in mind, the other thing we want to bear in mind to your question a second ago, Jeff, was what's one of the things that we learned early on in the series is, in fact, the name of the first episode of the series is "Bad Things Happen When You Dig." Mm-hmm. Well, that had to come from somewhere, and presumably it came from Bigelow's team. So clearly, I think that there was a lot of digging and excavation that went on, and I think, we don't know the extent of it because Bigelow hasn't shared that information. So I think there's definitely some relevance to it. Also, because again, during the recap for Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, they saw similar patterns on what was it, Mount Wilson Ranch?
Yes.
And again,
Meadow in the lower meadow.
Again, a property that Bob Bigelow owned at the same time as Skinwalker Ranch, and we've seen.
What did he call it? Something array.
An antenna array for one.
I know what you're saying, Seth. It's
I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't.
The name escapes me, but yeah, some specific kind of array, radar or antenna array. And interesting note about that was when Travis said that's a theory as to what brought down the Roswell
Yeah.
incident craft, and then he quickly said, "If it's
If
true,
it happened. Yeah.
Well, people spec.
if it's
Yeah.
true."
I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think
Now,
I think
and
there's
who are
significance.
those people that?
What's that?
Sorry,
Those people.
what'd you say, Jim? I'm sorry, you cut out on my end here.
I'm sorry. I didn't. No, I was just going to say go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
All right. So here we got the next gentleman, Mr. Jeremiah Pate from Lunasound, when he comes out with his stuff. And this is another one that kind of blew my socks off right here. This guy came out with his technology. Here they are launching it or getting ready to launch it. And then right off the bat, they come up with that whole thing with the electrical field and the magnetic field and how they kind of work hand in hand. You don't generally have an electrical field go down when you have a magnetic field go up or vice versa. They work hand in hand. So why would you get a situation where the electrical field goes down, but the magnetic field goes up? Travis had said something like to the fact of that does not happen naturally. He did say he did give a case of when that might happen, but it was an astronomical thing, and I forget what he called it. Oh my gosh, a phased array. Phased array.
Phased array.
That's it.
Thanks, Beth.
Phased array. Beth.
Thank you, Beth.
That's what it was. Thank you. Yeah, phased array. I forgot. Now I don't remember the time when he said that could possibly happen, but it was like, yeah, crazy. But here we go. There it happened. They actually picked up that data. The electrical field went down. The magnetic field went up. So how does that happen? And then, of course, they also had the time anomaly. That one right there. I mean, you think about that. You think, some people don't put a lot of stock in that. I put a lot of stock in that.
I do too.
Because these are precise instruments. It's not a Casio watch that might, lose a minute every day or something like that. And I throw that name out there just because that's the one that popped into my head. But
no, that's pretty accurate for a Casio watch. You want to lose time? Get a Casio.
Yeah. So if you want to, takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Boy, that goes back a few years, doesn't it? You get the Timex, or you get a Seiko, or you get a really good watch. But anyway, so a time anomaly, even if a quarter of a second.
I'm keeping my mouth shut over here. I have quite the Casio collection.
Seth, I'm a Roland fanboy. Don't even talk to me about Casios.
But it is very significant to have a quarter second of a time differential, and that's crazy to have that happen when you're talking about very precise instrumentation.
Yeah, Travis was really impressed by that.
Significant.
He was like, "That's huge.
That's huge. Yeah, that's
really
very huge." And over here on top of the Mesa, and I think we're jumping over to the by the blazing, where the Blazing Bear guys set up and played. This is the rock that has the pictographs on it of the portal and the protectors of the portal that was described. And there is the spiral that is a rocks laid out on the ground to indicate a portal, probably by the indigenous peoples. And this particular area of the East Field was also thought of as a place where, they said that there would be a place where they would come and maybe camp out. The indigenous peoples would come and camp out there for a while for whatever for what, and obviously they did, if they were making, if they created this and then they created this on the rocks right there in front of it on the Mesa wall, why? And this is another one of the questions I had for the chat was, what do you make of that? What do you make, or do you think that they created that rock spiral and they not painted, but they actually chipped away of the stain, the desert stain on this rock to create these symbols here that indicate some sort of a portal? Do you think they did that because they saw things happening in this area? Yes or no? That's the question. Do you think that they created both of those things here in this spot because that is where they saw something happening that they describe as a portal in this area? What do you guys think? What do you think, Seth? You're in deep thought there, I can tell.
Yeah, I do. I feel like y'all probably could guess that I was on board with. I think they were letting, like you said, they're recording what they're seeing and also leaving a message to those that come after them as well. Of like, hey, here's what's going on in this area. Yeah.
Yes. Kat said it. Why would they imagine something like that? Where would they have thought of something like that if it wasn't something they had seen?
Precisely. It gets back to what we were talking about earlier. You know, they were drawing representations of what they had seen with their own eyes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's a pretty easy one to knock out.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is too. And then it seems like everybody, yeah, if they are connected, yes. We checked the boulders that have broken off the Mesa. Yep, this is more of this, more of that. Exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. I think there's some broken rocks that may have more clues on them that might be laying face down and they can't see it at the moment. So, yeah. I think it's something that they saw in this area. And we also have seen the spirals, and there's that, I think it's at McConkey Ranch, or if it's not, it's in the area where it looks like there's like a vortex, and then the cow is falling upside down out of it.
Yep.
On the rocks there, local. Is that McConkey Ranch? Yeah.
McConkey Ranch, yep.
Yeah, that's they saw it, right? Who's going to make up a story like that? Back then, when they have no idea. It goes back to that whole, you talk about the anthill next to the freeway.
The prehistoric equivalent of a Trekkie?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, that would be the one.
Guilty.
Something like that. Yeah, right. Yeah. But you talk about the anthill. Have you ever heard that analogy, the anthill in the freeway? The anthill next to the freeway? So you got an anthill, and here's this community, thousands of ants living in this anthill, and they're right next to a freeway. Are they even aware of the freeway? Are we the anthill next to a freeway? And we are so uneducated in that area that we have no idea what is that we're sitting right next to a freeway because we're an anthill next to a freeway.
Yeah, I do feel like that's what, hopefully we're not as bad off as the ants. Like, I think we have some sense of maybe we're next to something, but yeah, I think you're touching on definitely something that's what's happening here. There are times where I give up on the idea, like, and until these last couple episodes and hearing, like, that's why I used the word hopeful with Eric earlier, like, because I have legitimately, like, when thinking about the ranch, had to come to terms with, like, well, maybe we're just never going to know because we can't, and that kind of depresses me a little bit at times.
I know, me too.
So
because I want to know before I pass. I want to know, maybe after, I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Upside down cow, the story of the broken ribs and December. Yes. The story of the cow that when the guy first saw it, it had two back, or the front legs were broken. And then when it was gone, then when it was found again, it had all 4 legs were broken, like it had been dropped on the ground after it died.
And ribs.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
How did it get those broken ribs if it hadn't have been dropped in the portal and it fell out of the portal? Did the cow accidentally go in the portal? Okay, I did want to bring up this one right here. Now, we've had, people have talked about this whole thing right here, and even I did when we talked about this particular episode. And it builds my respect for Travis and the team even more so to have Travis come out on the extra bonus episode and say that they have found out after further analysis, because in the field and during the moment, they thought that this could be a UAP, or thought it was a UAP. And at the time, it was a UAP because they didn't know what it was, which is what UAP is, right? They did not know what it was. But after further analysis, they found out that it was, in fact, it had wings, whatever it was, a bird, or they said it probably wasn't a bug because it was too far away from it wasn't that close to the camera.
Right.
But he came out and actually said that they found out later that it had wings, and they showed it, and he showed it. And that just adds to my feeling of their integrity, that they did not
agree. Completely agree.
I think there's more to this that he could not say that I'm not going to get into either. But I am very, very glad that he came out and admitted that further analysis proved that it was a UAP at the time because they didn't know what it was, but no longer. I mean, what does that tell you guys? The same thing?
It tells me that he is a man of integrity and that he is a true man of science, because sometimes you get it wrong. And if you can't admit when you get it wrong, then what good are you? And we watched an excellent example of, in my opinion anyway, how much a man of integrity, ethics, and just sheer honesty and transparency that Travis has. And also, because again, Travis represents the whole team. So I think it was good for Travis to get in front of it and to have that moment. Did it catch a lot of us off guard and unsuspecting? It sure did. But is that necessarily a bad thing? I say no.
Nope. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jim. Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. It didn't bug me in the slightest, and in fact, it encouraged me. That they don't just go, oh, it's a UAP, and then we'll never explain it because it's unidentified. No, like they bared further investigation as it doesn't end with the TV show or when the episode ends. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah,
it is a great point.
So I wasn't too bummed. I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, that happens.
Yep, it does. Sometimes you make a mistake, and they did, and they owned up to it and came back and said, "Oh, yeah."
We all make mistakes, and if we can't have people accept the fact that sometimes, even the smartest people on the planet, and forgive me, I consider Travis to be a heck of a lot more educated and academically apt than I am. And so for him to come out and say that, to me, just speaks to his true character, which is a very, very positive thing for him and for the team. And once again, it just shows me Brandon has truly assembled a good team. And again, what a great opportunity for us all to be here and watch this all unfold and to be a part of the team by extension.
Yep, exactly. Another great part of the show for me, the season 4, was this right here. And that was when Blazing Bear came out and was playing. And not only to hear them play, because like I said during the episode, I have been to some different powwows and I love them. I think they are very spiritual. I get fired up every time I go to one. I just think they're awesome. I don't completely understand all the songs. I don't completely understand all the dance. But I tell you what, it is a moving thing for me to witness, and I really enjoy them. And for them guys to be playing down here and then have this heat up, that's up there where the stone circle is, the spiral that we were just showing is, and it was heating up. And we talked about those frequencies, certain frequencies, is that's what's causing it. I think in all of this, the guys are getting closer and closer and closer to being able to detect the anomaly or a anomaly. I think they're getting down to it. They're finding, they're looking at sound and light and all these different, electromagnetic fields and everything else, trying to narrow down how can they actually detect it. And I think they're getting closer and closer to the answer on this.
Yeah. And just while we're on it, they recorded this performance and they played it on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch in the Bridgewater Triangle, right? Was that the episode?
Was it that one? No,
I don't think it was that one. I think it was the. Oh, you had to ask, Seth.
I know, right? Now
it was where they massacred that one chief, his last stand, and they played the Blazing Bear music on Beyond Skinwalker.
Okay. I do remember them playing that,
right?
Yeah.
Or did they do the? I thought they played Blazing Bear.
No, it was Blazing Bear.
Maybe they did.
Oh, it was the rabbi chant. Was it
they did the rabbi chant? Oh, okay.
I think it was the rabbi chant.
Sorry, guys. I threw us off.
No problem. But then to have those UAPs they found during that whole time when all this was happening, they filmed the UAP or whatever these two light anomalies are going into the Mesa. There was two of them. One shoot, and they went right in there. And again, how does this happen? How, it's just more and more evidence that there's just some really, really strange things happening. And I think that, the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch talks about this as well, that it's not just at Skinwalker Ranch. And I said this in the one recap. I said, yes, there are other hotspots around the world where things like this happen, but Skinwalker Ranch is definitely one of them. And here you see what did you guys make of this when you saw those light flashing into the Mesa like that?
From my perspective, they looked really big. I don't know if I wish that they could have given us a size estimate of what they thought.
Yeah.
Big this were.
I don't know how to explain the comment that I'm about to make other than to say when I saw it, it just made sense to me. Just because of all the stories that we've heard of orbs and objects flying into and out of the Mesa, it's like, okay, now we've got an instance of it caught on camera. So to me, it was just like, all right, makes sense. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I'm glad they captured it. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that very much. Thank you, sir. Yeah, and then they had the episode where they were tracking the signal of the ISS going over, and when it got directly overhead or thereabouts, they lost the signal, and then it came back. I mean, again, now there's another way to say something happened. Same thing with the helicopter. Remember the helicopter, the Black Hawk that came in, and it was flying around out there. And when it passed between them, or when it was on when the anomalous area in the triangle was between them and the Black Hawk disappeared. Now, did they turn their light off for just a second? But if you remember, Eric was watching on cameras and said that he never saw the light turn off. The lights on the UAP or on the Black Hawk. But yet when it passed in that one area, it went dark to them on the ground. They couldn't see it, and then they could hear it, but they couldn't see it. And then all of a sudden, oh, there it is. So is that anomalous area? Is that anomaly able to? That's why I was saying earlier about it coming and going. It's not always on because doesn't always happen.
I agree with that.
There's also some other things again to plug the insider thing. Caleb told a story of something that kind of, for want of a better term, mirrors exactly what you just said, Jeff. That just kind of adds to the instance that it's not the only time that has been witnessed where something goes across your line of sight and then disappears and then reappears. But yet on the instrumentation, it seems like it was a constant, if that makes any sense. So one other great thing about those ranch revelations and the chips and salsas, I mean, you learn so much that doesn't make it onto the show.
Yep. Yeah, I in one way, I almost can't wait for the filming season to be over, because I want them to get back to the chips and salsa, and I want Eric to have time to come back and talk to us, because I learned so much by listening to him when he would come on the Discord channel and just talk with us, and he'd be working on the ranch, fixing something or working on something, and just sit there and educate us in the process. That was so awesome. I mean, where do you get that from, Professor Bard? I mean, come on. And that's why I say, in a way, I can't wait for that to be over.
Imagine if you had the same level of access to Dr. Jacques Vallée, or back in the 70s with Dr. J. Allen Hynek. Some of the biggest minds and greatest people. Imagine if something like the Skinwalker Ranch Insider program existed back then. We are truly, again, we are so honored and blessed to be able to have something like that, to be able to have this perspective. And like you just said, Jeff, hear it directly from the chief scientist himself. That's just, you can't put a price tag on that.
Exactly. Yeah. The ISS thing just kind of blows me away, how that went out. And that just kind of really blew me away when they lost that signal. One of the part of the last part of the episode or the season was this right here, where they show the this anomalous area. This was done by the drone that had the Lidar on it. And then, as you can see right here, it had that void area that was lost. The reflectivity of the signal coming out of the Lidar bouncing back was lost in this area. And then I was talking about all these little things. It's probably a tree or something, but man, that just freaks me out right there. What the heck is that? I don't know what that is. But yeah, it's a strange looking thing. But you can see all the guys standing around and everybody.
Perhaps if we built a large wooden badger.
Is that tall thing to the right of them? What are those? I see two tall things. Is that like the rocket
right there? I
launching
think
pad?
is the launch. I think that's their new launch tower. I think that is right there.
And then what's that thing to the left?
That looks like an antenna in the air, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Antenna. That makes sense.
I think it's an antenna. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but then with the circle around it like this here, the Lidar, and that's talking about that response. How does that happen? How does it create a circle? A perfect circle around it.
And the red is high reflectivity, right?
Yes.
That's the question. Are we looking at a shadow, as Travis posited the theory, or is it something else? And that's what that's one of those, can't wait to find out where the data leads us to figure that out.
Exactly. I don't know. I'm just I mean, this is toward the end of the season that we were getting these things, and it's just, and then of course Travis showed this here, and he was trying to give the description of this, and I was, talking about the rocket. This was one of the rockets that was launched. That is just, that's the rocket trajectory launching up through here, but then it's repeated over and over and over again, like a mirror effect.
Right.
And did that cause the reflectivity of the Lidar data to not return back to the unit? Was because of this? I don't know. That's
very good questions.
Again, we need more. We need more on this, and that's man, I don't know. We there's so much we need. Stay tuned. I know, right? Then of course we have the traversable wormhole that he was talking about, which I think they may be very close to actually. Could it be
traversable with what though? Like
I don't know.
What I'd have to look into what makes a wormhole traversable and what would traverse through it. Information? Like, are we just going to send some atoms through, or we're talking like this picture, getting a rocket, or where the missing rocket went, right? Like
that's what I was just going to say. Or is he telling us something here?
You
when
have to
he
open
drew
the
this
gates.
This is something that Travis created. Is he trying to tell us something? Because he made a rocket going into it. And do we know that they ever found that rocket that went Mach 1.5? I don't know if they ever found it.
They never heard it break the sound
never heard
barrier,
anything about
never heard the chute deploy.
As far as we know, that rocket is still MIA.
Where in the heck did it go? I don't know.
Newark, New Jersey.
Newark, New Jersey. Yeah.
Maybe Secaucus.
It's in the backyard of somebody's backyard in Newark, New Jersey. And then you got this right here. The Lunasound tunnels under the Mesa. Well, under the flat and under the Mesa. Because we got the picture. The next picture is that right there. And that's where I was trying to draw that picture earlier. But, you know, and the drill site where they is right here. That's the drill site where they were drilling up on top of the hill. You can only get a partial picture of it here. But, yeah, I don't know if it was looking over that far when they were doing it, when it was going up, the balloon was going up, getting its data. But I don't know. What do you all think, real quick, too? Do you think this is something that they need to drill it? They need to drill. Take one of these spots, one of the yellow. I would start
the yellow right by the triangle.
Yep. I would start with that yellow spot right there, and not drill, baby, drill.
Drill, and then get a camera down there. They hit that void and get a camera in their Oak Island style or Quezon, you know.
Maybe
dive read.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't want to do anything that is too destructive and intrusive on the Mesa because of the structural integrity of the Mesa, among other things. But it would make sense to me that maybe one of the best things that they could approach that with is just do old school brute force. You know, get a backhoe and just start digging there and see how far down they get, because it seemed to indicate that those tunnels weren't that far below the surface, right?
No.
If I understood correctly.
So, yeah, they should get a dowser to tell them where to get in.
Yeah. Who could do a good job with this, do you think, Seth? Who could bring a Caisson out there?
Somebody in the area, somebody with a lot of experience with drilling, and maybe even somebody that had connections to Prometheus and the History Channel that we've already seen before on another very popular show.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Mesa Lucido and Rock Equipment Company, get her on the phone and get her out here with her equipment and drop a Caisson. Well, drill a 6-inch well first, right there, and then get Vanessa out here and have her sink a Caisson right there, and then go down in there and find out what's there. Now, if they drill right here, if in season 5, if they've drilled right here, which I would have to think that they're going to. I mean, don't you think that they're going to do that? I mean, they got to drill.
I mean, you know they want to. Travis has been wanting to get in that Mesa as soon as they figured out there was something in it.
Jim, if you were told on your property that there's a tunnel system running under your property and you had the money by which to go get yourself a drill, would you not drill a hole in there and find out what that tunnel is? I mean, come on, right?
I would definitely want to know why it's there. I'd want to know. Then the next big question is, where does it lead to?
Yes, exactly. Right? Where does it go?
You know, and this is where we get into the whole realm of, you know, what ifs. I mean, what if it wasn't placed there by Bigelow's team? What if it wasn't placed there by, you know, some private corporate entity or some, you know, secret faction of the military? What if it was put there by some other quote unquote intelligence? Or what if it, like the Sphinx over in Egypt, is really, really, really ancient? And what if it predates all known human activity in the Uinta Basin area? That's where I'm waiting to see where this goes, because the the bizarre nut guy in me wants to think that whatever is there is a lot older than the United States of America.
Yep, I agree.
I could be wrong.
I could be too, but I agree with you. I think so too. But
I think it's.
Well, I mean, the petroglyphs are ancient, and they were observing it, so definitely older than us in the United States. Yeah, and even I think even older than recorded history is kind of what you're getting at, Jim. Far ancient. I've heard.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, for me, it makes me wonder. Like, I've heard the legends of like the Ant-Man in the Grand Canyon. Makes me wonder if like maybe this is some sort of non-human intelligence that's lived in inner Earth and comes out and helps us at sometimes. Or if it's like humans did it and we just have lost track of it. That Egyptian symbol in the field to me makes me wonder. Yeah, and
right.
That's a fun.
Last question
fun thought
for
me
chat.
because.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Go ahead.
Last question.
No.
This tunnel system right here, if it is really there, which I have to believe that it is, what do you think it is? Is it man-made? Is it natural? And if it's man-made, when? That's the last question for tonight. Is it man-made or is it natural? And if it's man-made, when do you think it was made? I want to hear what people think. I think I want to say, now, if you remember, now think about this for a second. And I talked to a gentleman who's going to be coming back on the show, and his name is Mr. James Keenan. We're going to be seeing Mr. Keenan out in Phenomicon, and I've been talking to Mr. Keenan about this right here. And he said, this goes right along the area by which he said there was a tunnel system. He mentioned that earlier himself. Now, his tunnel that he was talking about ran right along like that. It's very close to where part of this is. Okay. So, and his went all the way towards what, Bottle Hollow or up that way, or,
that's
definitely connects to Bottle Hollow, I think. So does anybody think it could be just like man-made mining operations?
Yeah, let's see what folks are saying here. Neither. Alien made. Gosh knows who. Tunnels for, maybe it's similar to the Pueblo style of creating homes. That's an interesting thought. Not natural, but very old. Until they do more water drainage studies, I have to go with natural. Okay. It could be natural. He posted a video the other day. It says it lines up with his reading. See? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now you're ready to hear something that's really going to blow your minds?
Yeah.
Always.
What if that tunnel exists in a different dimension, occupying the same space, but residing in a different dimension, as well as the stuff inside the Mesa? And maybe that is why we can't get to it, because we haven't figured out how to penetrate that barrier between the dimensions. That's why you hear all these stories of treasure hunters that go looking for something, that find stuff, and then all of a sudden they go and they try to get it, and it becomes slippery. It just slips out of their hands. Maybe that what they're having difficulty with is maybe it's a different dimension. We can detect it, but we can't get to it. Maybe that's one more thing to make you go,
yeah. Double wow is more of this, more of that said. At the toll booth. Ancient, man-made.
Crazy
what about
stuff.
season 2 ground radar readings? Remember that when they did the ground penetrating radar readings in season 2? Have they overlaid them? I don't know, but I remember that guy running that thing back and forth across the triangle area in season 2. Remember that? That's a very good point. SMS pirate. I'm gonna have to check that out. I don't know. I might have to do the overlay myself now that you mention that. See, man-made Bigelow area. It's man-made before we got amnesia in this recorded history.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just to go on the record, I think all the possibilities that have been mentioned are very real possibilities, and I'm
absolutely.
open to all of them. I'm just, when I throw out the bizarre stuff, like, maybe it's in a different dimension, that's just me, just throwing one other log on the fire, as they say. So I'm completely open minded about it.
No, I like that aspect, and I think I lean more towards natural because, like, we know water runs underneath there.
Yep.
So I lean more towards natural, but that doesn't mean it can't be being taken advantage of something using those natural things.
Oh, absolutely.
The high metallic content causes me to pause and think, well, maybe it is man-made. And if it is man-made, I agree with the person who said it's, and I think you too, Jim, and it's very, very ancient. And before, we've lost track of whoever it was that built it and however we built it.
There's a theory, and I know Seth, you and I have talked about this. There's a theory out there that just to throw a number out there, say every 20,000 years or so, the world tends to reset itself, and civilization and what was built up as technology and science and understanding or culture at that time is lost, and the remnants that are left to restart the species, as it were, they kind of are starting over. And so maybe we find evidence that there really were these ancient civilizations like Atlantis or Mu or some of the other, the Deros and the Teros, Lemuria, right? We don't know, but I don't think we should ever scientifically and academically close the book on it and dismiss it outright as preposterous, because again, what is the nature of science? You have to be open-minded, and science constantly changes, and that's why that term settled science that so many prominent physicists and scientists like to use is the most ridiculous thing to say, because if you're a true scientist, true physicist, you never settle. It's always possible for you to learn, and you should always try to learn. So
no, I agree. Yeah, it's I've seen scientists and academics say, with 100% certainty, there's no Atlantis. There's zero chance of Atlantis. And I think, oh, I'm sorry. Do you have a time machine where you get to go back in time and ask Plato and then go even further back and see for yourself? Because unless you do, you can't say that.
Right.
There's always, so I'm with
100% certain. Yeah, exactly right. I agree. 100%. Wow. So are you guys ready for season 5? I know we got a long wait, don't we? Oh my gosh. We have a long wait.
You know it.
But I tell you what, folks, if you are not an insider, you should be. And I tell you, after the filming season is over, and I remember last year at Phenomicon, they were still filming because the guys had to come in when they could and show up. And they did. They came to Phenomicon a lot. And we're just walking around talking to people. But they were still filming at that time. So I'm looking forward to when they're done filming and then we get back to regular insiders again, where we got more screens. We got those guys popping in time to time, Caleb popping in, talking to us, and everybody, all of them. I can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah, I feel like if there's anybody watching that is maybe considering being an insider and maybe thinking, oh, I missed the season, so I'm not going to join. Now's the good time to join.
Now's the time to get.
Now is the perfect time to get on board.
Because the same thing happened last year. When filming was over, it exploded as an insider. We started getting all kind. Pete Kelsey was showing up. Guys, all these guys were just showing up in there and talking with us in the chips and salsas they were doing and all of that stuff. It was a lot of fun. And then when filming started, all of a sudden it was like, we lost a lot of that. We're down to one screen and we're down to, just Ranch Revelations. True, they were every week after the episode, which was great. But
I admire that.
Now's the time to actually join if you want to see and hear. You're going to get tidbits about season 5, guaranteed. That you don't, you won't know until season 5 comes out next year. So now's the time, and there is a link below. You can be an insider. Just click on that link; it'll take you right over there. It is a paid program. Yeah, right down in the description. It is a paid program, but there is a 10-day free trial. You can check it out and see for yourself. So, all right, man, I tell you what, it's been we went 2.5 hours. I kind of had a feeling it was going to be a long one tonight, simply because we were covering the entire season. And then
the whole season.
Can I just say a thank you to all the folks in the chat, especially ones that were saying such nice things at the beginning about my music. Thank you for all the kind words, and
great music.
The people in your chat, Jeff, truly are very intelligent, very articulate, and just some of the finest people out there. And it's a pleasure to know some of them, like B Jones and SMS Pirate and Miriam and Kelly. I saw jumped on for a bit, and it's so good to see. And that's the kind of community that you'd be coming into, folks, is people that are they're open-minded, they're curious. Stay curious, and it's just a true honor and privilege to have been a part of it this season, both as a spectator and as a participant in your chat, Jeff and Seth. Thank you for this marvelous opportunity to get to know you guys and to be a part of this. It's truly been a very significant positive thing in my life, and I just want to thank you both from the bottom of my heart, and Linda as well, and Pete Kelsey, James Keenan, Chris Bledsoe, John Dover, all the folks that you have had or are going to be coming on. They all they're all Shannon. Yes, Shannon. Cannot forget Shannon.
Where is she?
Just to all of you, thank you.
I know she didn't make it. Oh well.
Yeah. Michelle Stratton. Yeah, everybody.
And Michelle, yes.
I think Shannon was actually remote viewing herself here tonight. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because she went.
Shannon was knocking. That's who was knocking me off the internet. Was Shannon?
Yeah.
All right.
Well said.
You guys come by. If you're going to be at Phenomicon, please come by and see us there. I say that with all, wherever if you can't make it to the Tuesday night gig, just please come by and see us while we're there, because I love meeting everybody. I really, really do. And I hope you will stop by and say hi and hang out. Let's go have some tacos together. Do the morning meditation with Michelle.
Melissa Winter.
Sorry, Melissa. Yep. But yeah, so there's so much good things going on over there. I can't wait. And hopefully I'll get to hang out with you some over there too, Jim and Roger and Carl. I don't know what's going on. Carl the Crusher was going to have something happening too, but I don't know if he's said that he's going to get back. He's got to get back to me on it. Some things are changing for him. So, but he had a thing where he wanted a bunch of people to come and help out, look at this 300-acre area for petroglyphs and pictographs and stuff. So anyway, we'll see what happens with that.
And if you see me at Phenomicon, folks, I know I'm a big, intimidating guy. I'm actually really shy. So please come up and say hello. I would love to meet some of you. Don't be intimidated by the big, brawny, ugly guy wearing the Stetson.
Yeah, the big Stetson hat. Yeah, you can't miss that Stetson walking around in that place. I'm telling you.
That smile, Jim. You're not ugly at all. You're a handsome fellow. I tell you what.
Well, my mother and my wife would agree. Thank you.
Expedition Bigfoot. We will be talking about.
Well, I just can't let you call yourself ugly.
Well, thank you.
30th.
Oh, did I get Skinwalker
on the 30th? And we are going to be. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that one. We're going to be doing every episode. We're going to be covering Expedition Bigfoot. So, yeah, you're going to want to be here for that, too. So, all right, folks, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. We really do appreciate it. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And we'll catch you next time right here on the JFree906 podcast. See ya.
See ya.